I remember even during the funeral, I only cried because I saw my mom crying. So that for me was, and it was like, oh my goodness, she is so much in pain. She's crying. So after, the funeral, she literally then was just like, no, he needs to go. She gave me permission to go and like, go and search my dreams and, discover life outside Zimbabwe.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Prudence Network podcast. And I'm your host, Prudence. So today's episode is especially exciting because for the very first time ever, we have our very first male guest on the show. Okay,
Yay.
so that was our drum roll. And we are joined by Tatenda Muchiriri. He's an educator, entrepreneur, author, and founder of Runga No Montezori on Wheels. He was raised in a family of boys by a strong and resilient mom. And after losing his dad, Tatenda's story is one of the stories which has strength, it's got faith, perseverance, and a purpose. So from the humble beginnings to building a vision that now impacts children and families. And his journey reflects the powerful role of mothers, especially the role of her mother in shaping his destiny. So recently, Tatenda also stepped into the world of children's literature with the release of his new children's book, which I'm yet to get for free.
Very soon. Very soon.
So it's a children's book, and it adds yet another layer to his passion for educating and inspiring young minds. So in today's episode, we'll be diving into conversations around motherhood, growing up without a father, of course, not like his whole life, but partly, the sacrifices of his mother, and the brotherhood, the dreams, the challenges, success, life lessons that shaped to who he is today. So Tatenda, welcome to the Prudence Network.
Gosh, I am so excited, and I just love the work that you do. Bringing mothers. I listened to some of the guests that came to your show. I was like, you know what? I work with families, so I might as well listen in. So yeah, thank you so much for that work that you're doing. I'm excited to be here in conversation with you and talk everything everything that I've learned, from my mom. That still remains very true, and the reason why I'm even here today talking to you. So yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. How are you feeling about this, how this will go?
So good. I'm excited, because I'm talking about my mom. So whenever I
Yeah.
have to talk about my mom, there's just so much strength because I know I'm tapping from her love, her care, and her dreams. So for me, this is just a moment to just like really love my mom so much. So when I do that, I feel good. So, I'm here.
That's amazing. I cannot wait to hear more.
Yeah.
So describe your mom in 3 words.
Oh, goodness me. Why three? I want to have 1,000 words to describe my mom.
I
But
know.
I would say she is beautiful, strong, and tender.
Tender, strong and tender.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that.
I think that's
Wow.
one thing that I grew up with lots of question. I come from a family of 5 boys, being the last one. Even up to now, I keep asking her, like, how did you do it? How were you able to raise 5 boys
Boys. Wow.
with so much tenderness? You see my mom, we call her our girl because she's the only girl that we have. Now that my brothers have married, we have, more, girls in the
Ladies.
family. But I was just like, how were you able to raise these strong-willed boys? So different, very, very different. And yet she's just so smooth, loving, and caring. And yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned your brothers, yeah,
Hmm.
growing up in a house full of boys with only mom, how was it like? Like, I'm thinking of doing the dishes, helping mom, or were you like the typical boys who let mom do everything? How was it like?
Never. I think she knew right on. I don't even know
Yeah.
when. Maybe I need to ask her, when she exactly knew that she had to raise us in ways in which we also had to embody some of those
Mhm.
house chores that, typically in an African family, you would think that the girls should be the ones to do it. So we grew up. Almost like with gender roles being very blurred, we could not even see them, right? We did everything that was supposed to be done at home, from cooking. So, wonder why maybe we cook better
You
because,
had to.
we cook, we had to clean the house. One thing that
Yeah.
then we carried on with, with ourselves in our adulthood, that we love to keep our spaces very clean, very strict when it comes to us having to do those house chores. And being the last one, I grew up with this fire in me, always having to fight the idea that I was the last one. Therefore, then my brothers made me do almost everything, and I didn't want that, of course, for many, many reasons. Because my mother as well, she gave me books very early on to read. So I was a reader, an early reader. And I wanted to read books and get lost into stories. And my brothers wanted me to do dishes and clean the house and run some errands. And my
That's
mama
a
didn't
lot.
have, right? Yes. And I was my mom's favorite. I was the last one.
Yeah.
Students. I was born a premature baby. So I came as a surprise and also as a very difficult pregnancy and childbirth, everything. So my mom really took care of me so much. I grew up on my mom's lap the entire time. So, I was poised to be very spoiled, but I wasn't. But I was so much loved, so much. So there was that. My brothers didn't like the idea that my mom would just let me have a pass on everything. I didn't do manual work
Yeah.
because of that because she just thought like I was fragile. So they get to do like the gardening, and I would do like doing the dishes at home or something like that. So those dynamics, growing up in a family of five boys.
Yeah. I think you're still very spoiled.
I
Correct me if
think
I'm wrong.
so. She can't help it, I guess. I think there's just something in her that thinks that I'm always gonna be that little boy, I try to fight it, when I go back home to
You don't
visit
need
her.
to. You don't need to fight
Okay.
it because I see kissing her on the cheek like you're still that cuddly boy. It doesn't matter how old you get, you're just hugging her, doing this silly stuff with her, taking photos. I'm like,
Yes, I do that with her. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know anything other than love when it comes to her. So everything with her is
yeah,
just like, how do we love each other? And so we do that.
yeah. Okay. Do you want to share the funniest thing your mother used to say to you boys? Like the
Mm,
funniest thing, just her
funniest
being
thing,
silly.
being silly.
Yeah. Or being
I think,
sarcastic, because mothers are really sarcastic.
yes, yes. I think what I remember very well is when we would complain about doing something that she wants us to do, and then she would end up doing it, right? So either for us to feel bad or whatever, I don't know. Mothers, they have a way to just, play with the psyche. She would then would say, "Muchacho, wona kana mane you will see it when you have your own kids. Like, don't worry,
Yeah.
you're gonna have your own kids. It is going to be exactly like
You will
this.
see.
You will see that you're gonna do it for your kids, or you're gonna want your kids to do it."
Yeah.
It was just so cute, but also like another way of like, did she just say that out loud?
I
So I
know.
think
I know.
that's
Yeah.
it was funny for me that you know she would do it as a way to say, hey, when your time comes, you are
Mhm.
definitely going to live through this, right?
Yeah.
And I would always say, like, I don't know, you made a choice. I mean, I didn't apply to be here.
Yeah.
You gave birth to me, but also in a loving way for sure. But
Yeah.
I think that was really cute and funny that
That's
she would
really cute
always,
and funny
always say
and
that.
sarcastic.
Yeah, and I'm sure my
All
brothers
right.
now even through that, having to do it for their own.
Yeah. I
Um,
know.
yeah.
Right. So now let's dive into the questions for today. Yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
mentioned this was just an icebreaker, just a warm up. Yeah. You mentioned something about your dad when we had a call last week.
Mm-hmm.
If that's okay with you for us to
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
sure.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
you mentioned that he passed away. When did he pass away?
Uh, eight? Yeah. Yes.
2008. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that
Okay.
very well because I was very angry
Mm,
with him when he passed on. I was angry because many reasons. I think the one that came to that's coming up for me right now is I had an opportunity to go to China that year, that winter in Zimbabwe. And he got sick all of a sudden, right? It was a very, quick, health deterioration. And then he passed on when I was scheduled to go to China. And in the African culture, then if there's been death, everything is suspended. It's almost like you can't, like,
you
let
can
people bury your
continue.
father
Yeah.
and you go on a trip. So I felt like my dream was robbed away from me when I really wanted so much. I wanted to just get out and go. And here I was now having to deal with death of my father. So I was confused. I remember even going through his funeral that I couldn't even cry because I had so many questions like why, that took away the pain of even having to process that I'd lost my father. So yeah, so that's what happened, and it was the Olympics, if you remember, 2008. I
Yeah,
wanted to
2008.
the Beijing
In China
Olympics.
as well. Yeah.
I was just like, why would you take this away from me?
Yeah.
I was young, so I think for me, I just wasn't able to process that at the same time. So life and opportunities for myself. Yeah, so yeah.
So take us back before your father died. How do you have like beautiful memories, or do you have memories of your father which still stay close to your heart?
Yes, I have a beautiful memory. Then I have funny memories, I guess. I think the
Yeah.
beautiful one is what was, told by my mom to me around my birth. So, like I said, I was born a premature baby. So my mom had five of us through C-section, and I think in the 80s and the 70s, you could only have four kids through C-sections. I guess the technology was just not there, right? So she had four kids through C-section, and they said, "You're done." So they had to tie her tubes. And then somewhere in 1985, she kept getting sick and she would go to the hospital and they would say like, I don't know, you just have like, stomach issues or whatever they would say. And she kept really getting like sick and sick and sick, right? And then one of her friend, I guess, or family friend, they, sort of gave an advice to go and see the nurse who had helped her deliver the kid. They were like, hey, how about you go to that nurse that helped you deliver all your kids and just get another opinion on your health and why you are having these, symptoms of, sickness or illness of some sort. So she said then she then went to, see the nurse, and the nurse was like, you know what, it doesn't hurt. Can we just do a pregnancy test? And she's like, no, but we tied the tubes. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? They're like, yeah, but does it hurt? Let's just do it. And then guess what? They're like, you are pregnant. And she's like, hell no, I can't be. And also, it was like a hell no to the nurse that, you can't also be pregnant because we tied your tubes. So that meant they didn't do it so well, right? And also meant that the pregnancy was going to be really difficult, and it was very difficult because it was like,
Mm.
either you abort the baby or, so when then November came, they had to make a decision because she kept getting very sick that either we have to save one of you, the baby or the mom. So we actually have to operate. And it was raining. So my mom told me the story that it was raining so bad. And they had to wait for my dad to come to give a signature, because African families and culture, the dad has to sign off things. And he couldn't because, he couldn't get to the hospital. And my mom was like, no, I am going to sign on this. This is my baby. This is my life. Give me the
Yep.
paper. Let me, do the signature. And then my mom signed off and then they did the operation. Then hooray, here I am. Here she still is. And my dad had to really do everything to make sure that, he gets to the hospital. So he showed up like just drained in rain and wet and dripping
Yeah.
in rain, which I think for me was just so powerful of like how he wanted to see, his son and be
Yeah.
there on my birth. And he named me my first name actually, which never then made it to the birth certificate, was Takwana, which means,
Hmm.
you are enough. So
Yes.
it was just like a prophecy around, just like, you're good, you're enough the way you are, being this tiny little human. They said you were like a little mouse. You were so tiny because you were 6 months, 2 weeks, not even 7 months. So
Wow.
I was like premature baby. So that's one story that I really care deeply about, how,
Yeah.
he tried so hard to get to the hospital. My mom was supposed to be operated and give birth to me. And then I think the other fun story is when I actually was now like in high school, in middle school. In Zimbabwe, you'd go on a field trip, right? At school, there are these trips that people would do, kids would have to sign up for. And I would wake up in the morning before he goes to work to try to catch him. Like, hey, dad, there's a trip at school. I need $20 or something. And he would really say something hurtful, but also very funny. He'd be like, no, you're gonna go on a joyride. So I never went on a trip at all. Zero trip in school. He was just like, that's a joyride. For what? You just couldn't understand why would you want to go on a joyride. So now in my adult life, I travel a lot to heal that little Tatenda in me that never went on any trip. Now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go on any trip, on any joyride that I can afford
Yeah.
myself. But also, I understand, being a father of 5 boys, I'm sure he was working so hard to make sure that we have the
Yeah.
basic education and that is done. And then the other things could be added on if there was, financial means to do it.
Yeah.
It used to be like funny. The first thing would be like, that's a joyride. I'm like, no, you haven't even asked me like where and what would you
Where and
learn?
how much?
But my mom, wanted so much for me to do, to go on a trip and do what? I mean, she was the opposite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But you do have good memories, something you can
Yes.
laugh about from your
Yeah,
dad. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
So the transition after your father passed away, which role did your mother play during that season? Like that transition? How was it with your mom? Also with you, the boys?
Yes, I think for me, she knew that. I think she saw the pain, right, that I went through as I was trying to process what was taken from me in the time that I wanted to leave, and and seize an opportunity for myself. I remember even during the funeral, I only cried because I saw my mom crying. So that for me
Mm,
was then there's like, oh my goodness, she is so much in pain, she's crying. So after the funeral, she literally then was just like, no, he needs to go. She gave me permission to go and like go and search my dreams and discover life outside Zimbabwe. So she really embodied the idea that I'm also going to make sure that you have what you want. And be there with you. People didn't understand like why would I want to go to China? I don't speak Chinese that time. I didn't speak Chinese, and it felt like a very far away place. That why would someone imagine going there? Um, so I think for her, maybe it could be that she was like, you know what, one gone, four left. So so
still a lot of
she
trouble.
let me go. So at least she can only deal with four, right? Because I was the crazy
Yeah.
one. I was the adventurous one. Like I said, I grew up with reading a lot of books, right? She gave me books. So my life and my mind was always about things that I read in books. She would wonder, like, are you even my son? Because I would come back from school or from something else with like a story about something, right? And she'd be like, oh, you, oh my gosh, oh, you, right? So I think the going was like, oh, yes, please let him
Yeah.
go, and dream somewhere else and be a nuisance to other people. So yeah,
But that
so
was
that's
actually good to go out there and explore the world all by
right.
yourself.
Right. Yeah. It was so good. It was also like very empowering for someone who was the youngest of five. And I
Mm,
grew up with that independence of what does it look like to be on my own without my brothers, without my
yeah.
mom. So it also gave me space to grow into the man that I wanted to be, who can make my own decisions
Yeah.
and learn things outside my family and be able to also connect with my family if I needed them. So yeah, so she gave me that gift for
Yeah.
sure.
It takes a lot of courage. You are very courageous, considering that age, not only the age, where you are going, China.
I know,
Of all the places.
right?
Wow.
I know. I think that was what was scary to my brothers. They couldn't understand why I would even just think of going to China, right? Like, I remember my oldest brother, he was like, you can come to South Africa. He was living in South Africa at that time. He still is in South Africa. He was like, if you want to go abroad, you can just come and stay with me. But I wanted to go far, Prudence. I wanted to just like be as far as I can.
Yeah.
China for me was like that place. I was like,
Yeah.
I am ready to go somewhere far and strange and different. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well done, you. Okay, so are there any moments that made you realize your mother was sacrificing a lot for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, even going to China itself. So I'll tell you a story of how I even
Yeah.
ended up in China, right? So there was an opportunity for me to go to China and we didn't have money, right? My father had just passed away and it was just crazy to think about going to Beijing. At that time, fortunately, and I say fortunately, because in Zimbabwe in 2008 we had hyperinflation. If you remember the barrier checks and all those pictures of people in wheelbarrows with like lots of money to just buy a loaf of bread. So that was that time. So the
You
world was
didn't
sort of
you didn't
crazy.
have to expose our country like that.
But it happened. But it happened actually out of that. Actually, for me, it was so good. So I remember she went on to ask one of your very good friend at church. $20 Prudence, $20. If you go back in 2008, you could change that, and it was enough to buy an airline ticket to go to Beijing and have enough money left. Because you could buy with Air Zimbabwe local currency. In US dollars was like a lot of money to change into Zimbabwean currency. So I saw her going through that process of even having to go ask for help so that I could, be afforded this trip that she strongly believed that could also change my life in a way. So for me, that was just another sacrifice, from being able to sign here on like, death or life. I'm going to do this. I'm going to give back to this son to then even wanting to say, hey, I'm gonna go look for that money for you to go believe in that, even for yourself. She's never been outside the country, that something good. You go, you see what it is, you come back with stories, you come back with opportunities for us and for everyone else at home. So that for me was very powerful, that she gave me permission and even had to give everything, to make sure that I, could go on a trip.
Mm,
Listen, and you know how I also wanted to go on a trip?
yeah.
It wasn't a joyride. If it was, she believed in it that this was the one that you should be able to, be on.
Yeah.
So that was a big sacrifice that she was able to gift to me. Yeah, so years
That's
later, I also
amazing.
had to take her to Beijing and to travel with her around the world, which is one of my favorite things to do now. That I get to
Yeah.
do that for you now, mom. So yeah.
Yeah, I think traveling to Beijing was one of the breakthroughs of your life. I feel
Hmm.
like a lot of opportunities came after, like maybe as soon as you arrived in Beijing, so many doors started to open. Yeah. Um, I feel like your relationship with your mom is really close. That's
I think it's a
how
good
I
thing.
feel.
I hope it's
That's
a
how
good
I feel.
thing.
What do you have to say about that?
Honestly, it is, and I like it, and I hope. My only hope is that people see it in a very positive way. That I'm very close to my mom, and I think it's something that as Africans mostly we sort of see this as thing that's sort of within the Western culture where we see boys are very close to their moms, or moms are close to their sons, and in Africa you sort of like are raised to be this macho, very kind of man. And you really express your love to your mom in that way, in ways in which you sort of have seen me like taking pictures with her, we hug,
Mm,
we have kiss on the the cheek, we kind of do all these things, and I just love doing that because I think if anything she also has taught me how to love, right?
yeah.
Because I grew up with with a having to express love to us in a way that impart us to also be those men, those boys who are able to express love, who are able to cry, who are able to hug each other. Me and my brothers, we hug each other. We even like say I love you on the phone, which is something that I've also seen with my nephews, my brother's
Yeah.
kids, that they do the same thing to me. They're not, shy to say, "I love you, uncle. I miss you, uncle." It's something that just came from her, right? She herself, Prudence, another fun fact, she is also the last of five girls. I didn't tell you that part. So she comes from a family of five girls, being the last one, and my dad comes from a family of 12, seven boys and five girls. And she, and my dad had five boys. So
It's like maths. Yeah.
it is like math, right? So I don't know, something in the universe or something God
Yeah.
put it to be. So she was the last of five. So she also grew up with that love, being the last of five girls. And I think I also maybe had the same experience with her that, whatever she had with her mom and dad, my
Yeah.
grandparents, same that I have with her so much. And I honestly, I love it, right? I don't think it's anything less, I still have other life outside my mom that I do. But whenever I find time and moment, I connect with her. I just love, tell her stories of places I've been, things that I'm doing. She loves to do the same thing
Yeah.
with me as well. So yeah, definitely.
So are there moments where you felt like, I wish my mom was here, like physically, when you were in Beijing? Are there
A
moments
lot.
you felt that a phone call was not enough? You just needed mom to hug her, even if
Yes.
she's
Yeah.
quiet without saying anything. What do you want to give one of those moments?
Yeah, in Beijing, I think more so in the US than in Beijing. Um,
Okay.
I think in Beijing, the moment that I really wished my mom, because when I went there, I wanted to be far away from family. So I think I lived the first few years in Beijing enjoying the independence of just being like, I'm doing it, I'm my own person. I
Yeah.
wanted to win myself out of my family and my mom, I guess. So when I remember very well when I got my green card when I was in Beijing, I think it was a moment I wanted to be with my mom and celebrate that moment again. It felt like the first time when she had to go
Oh,
look for that 20 baht. And here, I had done so much to get myself to the United States, and I wanted her to be there for me, with me, and just live in that moment of what was coming next for me. The same what was when I left to go to China. I think that was the moment. So I mean, she then was able to come. I remember, months after that, she came. And I kid you not, one of my favorite memory that I have when she was in Beijing with me, that's when Taylor Swift album came out, 1989. And if you know me, you know that I love Taylor Swift so much. A little bit too crazy, I guess. We both were dancing to this song, Welcome to New York. We have a video of me and her dancing to like Welcome to New York, with all these visions and memories of like what life could look like being in New York or being in the United States. That time, the US was a good place to be. I don't know, times have changed.
still
But,
is, maybe.
in 2013, it was really
Yeah.
like, you could dream. I mean, because Obama was the president. So
Yeah.
I think there was just that for me that I really wanted to like, also be in the United States at that time. So yeah, I really wished that she was there. And when she was there, we had good memories of just going to
Yeah.
bookstores with her. I would go and get books and read books with her. She would just like be sitting there. I'm sure like, just like, well, what is he doing? As I read books, we'd go and have coffee together. I wanted to just like have everything that I read in books about what others do with their moms somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
I just do that with her.
But it's so good because you get to see her more often. And that's amazing because you love these joy rides. You can just get a ticket, you go and see your mom, you go and kiss your mom, then you go back to work. Whenever you miss her, you just you just go. I'm like, did Tatenda leave Zimbabwe or he's still in Zimbabwe? I get so confused.
I know.
That's how much you really show the world you love your mom, which is
Mm,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
So when you were young, did you ever imagine you'd end up in the States
No.
before Beijing?
No, but I think I had, I want to say this because that's what they say to me, my family and my friends, people who know me, that,
Yeah.
growing up, you were that kid who would dream, right? Because, like I said, I started reading books early, and you can relate with your own daughter as well. When you read
Oh, she
books,
reads books.
right? So you start living in other worlds that are out there, right? Which is the whole essence of reading books. And they say that you always were looking up, right? You loved just seeing planes fly over. You loved just like telling us stories of things that you read in books. So I knew that I was going to be somewhere, or that I wanted to be somewhere. I didn't know where at all, but there's something that told me that my life was just not in Glenview, right? That there was just somewhere else that I could also be. So I had no idea at all that I was going to end up in the United States. If anything, maybe I thought I was going to be in the UK, because it's easy to dream of the UK in Zimbabwe because you grew up through the British system and everything. It's just all about, the UK, even the television things that we watched. The US, I don't know. But I had an aunt who had gone to the US. She would come back with stories. So I knew of Boston because of her. I knew of Miami because of her. And I just love stories, and I'm a good listener to stories. So I would listen to those stories and I would imagine myself
Yeah.
because you just pictures. So I think there was part of me that wanted. I don't know if I knew.
That's uh, that's very good because you were reading,
Right.
so you saw what's out there before you went there,
Right.
which was amazing.
Yeah.
So do you want to speak on whether a man can truly replace everything a mother does in a home?
I don't know.
I know you guys used to do the dishes, doing the laundry and all that, but do you think, or let me say this, if it was vice versa, okay, do you think your dad was going to do everything your mother is doing right now?
I don't
Why
think
do you
so.
say so?
Honestly. Yeah, because I think mothers, uh, they are gifted. There's something about God that He did to mothers around nurturing. I think they have another sense that's only afforded to mothers. You know, the caring, the loving
The
so much.
sixth sense.
I think that yes, it is. My mom, even now, she keeps. So one thing that I do is every birthday that I have, I take an opportunity for my mom to tell me a story. Like, hey, do you have anything that you recall, that you remember about my upbringing that you want to tell me? So every time I have a birthday, that's the gift that I want from her, that she will tell me a story or something that she remembers about. Oh yeah, you were like slow to walk, or you did this, like all those things. I collect stories now from her. I think one of the things that she tells me is that people don't know that even when you give birth, something stays. So you're still within me and with me, right? All of you, my kids, like five of you, like I love you so much equally. Like you're part of me, and I think because of that, I think mothers are just so special in a way that we are like an expression of who they are, an extension of who they are. And fathers and men, we can try to, be caring, but I think at the core of it, to this level that mothers have in the world and around the world, it's something else. It is, if anything, I really want to also like have time to study and understand that autonomy, anatomy,
Yeah.
or spiritual connection that mothers have to the kids, or just to like this idea of loving and caring that is so deep, that I think we can only dream of doing a fraction of it when we try to love or care. I think my dad would have done what he could have. I don't think it would have been the same. It would have been cute if she was, if he was able to do it. You'd be like, oh my goodness, it's like, pursuit of happiness, Will Smith and, his little boy. It would
Yeah.
look like that. But I think it's different when it's like mothers. Mothers are
Yeah.
just special, man. I'm just like, I even like tell people that there are times, to your other question about at the moments you wish your mom was here, there are so many moments in the United States where something happens that is very challenging, right? Maybe mentally or whatever, with work or with life or with a decision. I don't know. And I want to pray, right? Oh my gosh, maybe my mom told me, like, if this happens, you need to pray. Uh, there are moments where even myself, I know, like, no, I'm not going to pray. My mom is going to pray for me because I believe strongly that when she is on her knees and she's speaking blessings or she's asking God, it's different because she comes to God in a very different way than I can. Um, so again, I think that there's just something special about moms that even I know, like doing my own little things, that she's in Harare on her knees praying for all her kids, and we are here thinking that we can do it ourselves, and yet our mothers are like
Yeah.
whoever they are, like, God bless my kids. I know you know this because you literally also constantly
Yeah.
think about your child, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Man, just now you were speaking about something that really touched me, that our mothers will be praying for us. And sometimes we are just too tired. Sometimes we don't even feel like doing it. Not like we don't know we have to pray, but we don't feel like doing it. But we just know our mothers are somewhere praying for us. And I don't know, if they were not praying for us, where would we be just now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know either. They're just amazing. Yeah. I always tell the story in the work that I do when people ask me, like, when did you become a teacher? I always
Yeah.
tell them that my mother so wasn't able to go to high school, because again, back in the 70s and the 60s, women were seen differently, right?
Yeah.
So she chose to stay home and take care of us, right? But she tells a story that she wanted to be a nurse or a teacher. So I went on to be, a teacher. And my other brother is a nurse, the UK there. So, we like to say we're living, our mother's dream, and she likes to tell people that, she gets to live your life through, us, her dreams through us. Um, so so when I do the work that I do, I also know that it's because of her, right? She's also like, living through me being a teacher in ways in which she is always going to be a teacher, and she has been the teacher to me as well. So yeah, I think mothers are just so special, man.
They're very special.
Yeah.
What is one thing sons, all the sons in the world, need to appreciate more about their mothers from what they see? You
Love.
speaking on behalf of other sons.
We gotta appreciate the love and the sacrifice that our mothers would do anything. If not, they've done everything. I mean, listen, y'all, they had to carry the pregnancy, right? That in itself, I'm not a mother, but I can only imagine from what I know, them having to go through that 9 months or 7 months. I think that in itself is very special, and we just need to appreciate the way in which they carry us even up until now, in their memories, in their prayers, in their love, in their care, in their wishes, in their dreams. So we all need to appreciate our moms. I always make it that I find time within the week to, text her, say, love you, mom,
Yeah.
something, just, like, yeah. And if I can, as you've seen it, with my work now, I get to travel a lot. I make sure that every opportunity that I have to go and do work in Africa, I go see my mom, right? I'm like,
Yeah. You
yeah,
have to go. Yeah. So, in one word, a mother's love is.
everything. That was easy. Everything.
It was,
Mother's love is
wow.
everything.
It's everything. But I think a dad's love is everything too.
It
It's
is. I mean, honestly, it is also everything. Yeah, it is. Okay, fine. Mother's love is powerful. Let me use
powerful.
the word powerful. I think there's a force to it that
Yeah.
maybe, dads don't really come with.
Yeah.
But I think mother's love is powerful. There's just like a force to it. It's like there's something in it. I think it's an element. It has to, like, mother love is also another energy we need to think about in the world, that it also exists, in the
Yeah.
universe. It's there,
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's different, right?
it is
I think a
bad.
mother's love is so different, but we cannot really see it. We can feel it. We can feel that this is different. Even those who have both parents and they love them the same, but there is this, as you have said, when mothers give birth, they are left with something. We don't know what it is. So I think a mother's love is really different. And I think even if children leave and go abroad and the mother is left on her own, she still feels for those children. Even if you guys grow old, I
Right.
feel like she knows that I have my sons. I have this one in the UK, this one in the States, this one there, and I really, really love them. We need, I don't know, is there
Yeah.
anything you wish to do for your mom which you haven't done? Let's put finances aside,
Right.
considering you are
Yes.
almost trillionaire, whether it's about money or anything. Because of that, is there anything you still wish I really want to do for my mom?
Yeah. I think I want to write a book. I would want to write a memoir, something about her. Even if I don't write a book, I want to do like either it's a recording of some sorts, like, podcast just for my mom, where I'm just
Yeah.
like talking for like hours about her. I can just like record myself and gift her that, or me and my brothers. I think that would actually be nice. I think that would be a
Would be
thing. The 5 of us
amazing.
could just record stories without her knowing, and then we gift her as something that she could listen to whenever she thinks about us. She could just like play it on, and she could hear our voices and all the stories, and we could just like lay our hearts out, all the good things, moments where
Yeah.
we're like, "Mom, why are you hitting us?" Why do we have to wake up at the church this time? All those things. I think it would be nice for us to do that, or for me to actually do that. If I could just have one more thing to do right now, I think that's what I'm thinking that I need to do.
You can do it. You can still
Yeah,
do it. I'm so excited about the book as well. You don't need to do
yeah,
one. I think the book will be so amazing.
yeah.
And I think an interview with her as well. I think that would be hilarious at the same
I
time.
think so. Gosh, I
I,
don't know if I want to have an interview with her. She'll bring up stories that I don't even know. You know how mothers, they always want to like embarrass you. Like, oh yeah, when he was 3, I was like, Mom, but why you have to talk about this right now with my friends? It's always when I bring my friends, she remembers the story. I'm like,
yeah.
lady,
Yeah.
like for real for now, Mom. But we love them. What we
Actually,
do.
I think you guys need like a podcast with someone hosting
Maybe you
and
should bring
you're
me and my
sitting
brothers.
there. And I'm like, do you want to tell me how Tatenda was? Has he ever disrespected you?
Oh gosh, trust me, those are the stories that she would want to share. I share the good stories. She'd be like, wait a minute.
That's hilarious. All right, let's go into your career. Uh,
Man, is
do you want to
that?
introduce the vision behind the Runga No Montezori on Wheels?
Yes. So Rungano Montessori on Wheels is, it's a mobile learning program, aka the Magic School Bus, that really came out of this idea of how can we move education from schools so that parents and communities can also interact with it, right? Either with the understanding of what happens in schools or what is learning and who the child is as a learner. And I was inspired with my own, stories of going kumusha, to the village every holiday. Something that I did not like. Maybe right now I appreciate it as an adult.
Yeah.
Like every holiday after school, you'll be sent to the village to help and to like be with the grandparents and cousins and and uncles and everyone else. And I was like, but why? I want to stay in the city. But you would go to a place called Mbare where we would take the buses to go to Mondoro to the village. And what would happen is you get there early, and then you wait for the bus to, get there, or for the bus to get loaded, and then it will take time, and then you then go on a trip to the village. And I remember the stories that I would hear and the things that I would see, and then being on the bus, places that I would see, and my mom or whoever I'm with would tell us about those places and things, and hear different stories people share, on the bus, like, buses in Africa are just like places where people share stories. They get to know each
Yeah,
other even for that 1 hour, 2 hours, right?
true.
And for me, it was those stories, the Runganos, right? Rungano means storytelling in Shona, right? Like these fairy tales. But I hate to say fairy tales because they're different, because in Zimbabwe, you'd say Paivapo and you'd say Zefunde. So there was a coherent response, like, I want to tell
Mhm.
you a story. And then you would also lean in to hear the story. So it was very active, the storytelling part of it. And having been a teacher for about 15 years, I wanted to redesign education through storytelling. Like, what if we really listen to parents, again, mothers, about who the child is, right? Who's this child? who are they as learners? And us as teachers, understanding what we know about learning and educating and instruction, then we can collaborate with parents and create learning spaces that help children thrive. So that was the inspiration of then taking the bus as a motif, as a way in which we can inspire others to think about if learning can happen on a bus, it can happen anywhere, in a grocery
Yeah.
store, at grandma's house, in the park, at church. So the bus became a symbol for that for me and for the work we do at Montessori on Wheels. And Rungano was just the idea of storytelling, like how can we listen better to parents and to communities to understand who the child is and how learning should happen. And I happen to be a Montessori trained teacher, so I knew this very well would fit into how Montessori respects the child and also brings different experiences to the child in their learning. So that is the work that I do of bringing the magic of learning through a bus,
To
right? To make it
life.
more, yeah.
Yeah. Did you face any challenges while building this brand or this vision?
No, unfortunately, no, because you would think that challenges would build you more, right? But no, fortunately, we did not face any challenges because there was something novelty around the idea, right? So what happened is people were surprised that someone would come up with an idea of putting a school on a bus, right? So it was like exciting for people, like, wow, oh my gosh, why did we not think about this? And then also in the United States, most people, most Americans grew up with the Magic School Bus,
The
on their
yellow one,
television.
right?
Yeah, so they would watch the Magic School Bus, TV show, and also they know they went to school with a yellow school bus. So there was something exciting about something that they knew very well and something that they grew up with, and also had maybe been on a bus going to school. He, a Zimbabwean man who's so into education and cares so much about kids, is building something very different for young children. So there was an excitement. We had so much, people who were interested to help and fund the program. I was even shocked myself because I thought that was going to be like a fun, cool project to do. Like, I was teaching that time, full-time teaching in a public school here in Denver. So I wanted to do something on holidays and on weekends. But it didn't take 6 months for it to be like a full-time thing where it was a registered organization, a non-profit that had a big bus and now has two buses and does work in around the US and outside the US. So yeah, no, we didn't face any challenges. If anything,
Yeah.
we had so much good interest. The only challenge that we actually faced, if I can be now truthful, maybe there was a challenge, was how people who were trained in Montessori education did not appreciate the way in which we were taking something that was very formal and putting it on a bus and giving it to people to just like explore and like play with. Because I strongly believe that Montessori was not supposed to be only for the rich or for people who can afford the elites. It was also for anyone to be able to get on a bus and experience Montessori. So they sort of like struggled with the idea of having to just create a space where there was no structure in that learning. Yet for us, it wasn't about being a school on the bus, but a program that would invite parents to learn with us and kids to enjoy learning and spark that love of learning again. So yeah,
Also, it's a non-profit organization.
it is. Yeah.
Okay, so are you guys a group of people? I understand you are the founder, but do you have a team whom you work
Yeah.
with?
So I do have a team that I work with, a very small but mighty team that we work with.
Okay.
We wanted to make it very small by design so that we can be very connected to the families and the children we work with and the communities that we work with. Um, and we do have so much demand than we could actually do because again we only have a bus or two buses that we can actually do and serve the communities. And our hope was always to make sure that we have, we bring access to Montessori education to different communities. So we've always hoped that if people want to do this, we can train them on what we have learned on how to do it, and then they get to do it. So for me, I am hoping that after this podcast, I can have a phone call with Prudence, and she's like, I want to do this in the UK, and you get to do it in the UK. And then we are happy that we have a
Yeah.
Montessori bus in the UK that Prudence runs, right? It is really about how do we give, access and autonomy to people who also want to do this, and we can support them with the knowledge that we have
Yeah.
on what we've done here in Denver, Colorado, and what else they can do in their own communities. So yeah,
Wow, I think that will be amazing if we have something like that, like this in the UK. Um, because I feel like we only have one structure of teaching the early years. They
Mm-hmm.
have the EYFS. I don't know if you know about it, the early
Mm-hmm.
years foundation stage. So
Oh, okay.
this IB, Montessori, Reggio Emilia, it's not, it is there, but it's not really put on the table. It's not really.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that idea will be amazing as well to
Yeah,
give it a
definitely.
try.
Yeah, when we're doing our
I don't think I'll
research,
be able.
well, another good reason for me to come to the United Kingdom, I've
Yeah.
always dreamt of, having my life there as well.
Yeah.
Favorite places in the world, anyways. I don't mind the rain. I love it. Um, what was I going to say? I don't
Yeah.
know. Skip my
Yeah,
mind.
that's fine.
Come back.
So from the introduction, I said you are an author, which is very exciting. You know,
Yes.
when your book came out, I
Yeah.
showed Andrew, my husband. I was
Yeah.
like, babe, look at what this guy is doing. I was so excited. I got so emotional. I'm telling you, I
Oh,
got so
gosh.
emotional. I was like, this is amazing. So each time I saw you getting maybe an award or a recognition, a nomination, speaking in front of a crowd of people, people listening to what you're saying, I feel so proud. I have no idea why. Maybe I see myself in you, like maybe one day I'm going to be like this. So each time you get an, I don't know, a recognition, I get this goosebumps like, Tatenda, this is amazing. I just hope one day when he gets rich, he'll still remember me.
Gosh, I will. And I think what you feel is what I feel, is what we feel as, as Africans. I think we have this strong feeling for each other, the Ubuntu, the idea that when
Yeah,
you see one of us, it's all of us, right? Uh, the same way I told you about your podcast, and your family. Gosh, if anything, I love your family. I love how you and your husband, you are like, I want to be like this. Trust me. Talk about like, I want to be like you because I love
thank
love,
you.
right? And I see the expression of it all the time in a very playful, joyful way. And I think we just share those sentiments strongly, and I really
Yeah,
appreciate you. Yeah, the book, honestly, I never thought I was going to be a writer, And when, a publisher approached me to write this story of the work that we were doing, for me, I think what made me want to do it was the idea again that what we're doing here in Denver could end up somewhere else in the world through a book, in the UK, in Africa, in Asia, way. And I think that was more of the reason why I said yes to it. I was like, oh yeah, that's how we can travel with the book. When people get the book,
yeah,
they know what we're doing here, get inspired, and maybe want to come and see what we're doing, or maybe do something like that. So yeah, and I love books, very
absolutely.
well. So I was like, yeah, well, maybe
Yeah.
I'll try to read a book.
So is there a story behind writing this book? Is there an inspiration besides the Montessori on Wales? Is there anything behind saying, I want a book? Why a book? Why not a cartoon? I know
Yeah,
you love
I think so. I think the only thing that I can really think about maybe could have been the inspiration was always wanting to do it. Again, I
yeah,
was that child. I was like, you know what? I want to do it. I
yeah,
also want to be an author. I
yeah.
wanted to be like, I can also be an author.
Why not?
Exactly. It was literally the why not. That was, I think, the thing. And also to write a book for kids is somebody who loves working with kids. I was like, I want to write something for them as well and tell my story. So I mean, you're going to get your book soon. Trust me. When I'm in the UK in June, I'm going to bring you copies. So the other half of the book is all real pictures of me and places that I've been. So you see me in Beijing, being a teacher there. So it has the story of Tatenda so that they also can see themselves that they can be,
Yeah.
that this is where I started in Zimbabwe, then in Beijing, then, in Denver, and then around the world. So there are all those images and stories of the places I've been as an inspiration to the little ones when they read the book that their story is just starting, that the
Yeah.
world is for them. So that was also another thing that came through writing the book that I also
Yeah.
needed to also do the illustrations, but also tell my story as well. So yeah.
I also love the fact that it's not to be racist, but
Mhm.
it's got our colors, you know. And for my children reading this, they get so excited as well because in our library, if you look in our library, a lot of books, it's Caucasians. Just a few, you find Indians, you find, other races. But it's amazing that we get to get illustrations of
Mm-hmm.
Black people
Mm-hmm.
in the books, which will make our children more confident. And
Yeah.
daughters, all their friends, they're
Yeah.
Caucasians. And it's amazing if they are reading together as a group, like they can also
Yeah.
see we have these hairstyles, we have
Yes.
beautiful smiles and bright eyes, big eyes. So it's keep doing that. That
Yeah.
is amazing. It's an inspiration. It's just amazing.
Thank you. And I think you will love the book because that was another thing that we were very intentional. We wanted the kids who've been on the bus to see themselves. So most of the kids who have read the books, it's so funny when they're like, "Oh my goodness, is that they can see themselves," which is so crazy. Even when I was trying, the illustrator rather was trying to like draw me, so and I look more thinner, right? Which
I
kids.
saw that you have a really big head.
Yeah, the kids were like, "You look cool in the book, different in real life." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I look more cool right here, right?" And some of them think that it looks like one of my best friend,
Yeah.
which is nice. I'm like, at least they're able to connect the images with people that they know, which is so good for black and brown kids to see themselves also in literature, so that they too can get on a bus. They too are very smart. They are brilliant. They do all this cool stuff. They have this cute hairstyles. He did a very good job. Mudu who was the illustrator. He took his time. I think that was the most longest, time that we had on the book, where it was the
Yeah.
illustration. Writing the book was easy. It was barely, I think, 6 months, but the illustration took a year because he really wanted to be very intentional in making sure that when you open the book, you could see where the bus, went through, like, be it in Denver or somewhere else, and the kids as they are. If you have to look at our website and look at the real images of the kids, it's exactly how we drew them on in the book as well. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the book. I will get a copy very soon.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So we are going to the closing, sadly.
Yeah.
Right. So, do you have any message you want to leave for single mothers raising only boys?
You are you're a gift. We will always remember our parents. We might not look like when we are just navigating life, but even in our own, we find ourselves thinking of our moms, right? We might not be able to express it some, in those who are able to, we actually do. But we really appreciate everything that you do to us and to show us what men can be, right? Strong, vulnerable, loving, caring, curious, and all the things. Thank you for loving us and for believing in us and all the things you do to make sure that we too have a chance in life.
Yeah,
So yeah.
true. What about to young boys growing up without fathers? They don't have a father figure in the home, which can be really challenging. It explains why most of the boys will just go wild when they don't have
Mhm.
a father, or most of the boys will just go grounded, disciplined with only their mothers. It can go to extreme ways. So do you have a message for boys growing up without the fathers, with only the
Yeah.
mother?
Yes, I would say, and I know that this is hard, right? And I want to name that uh, because you might have hurt, you might have trauma, you might have things that you need to work, through as you sort of maybe, grow up without a father or not seeing that, Um, but I think our mothers are also our sources of helping us to understand what manhood looks like. If they're not able to do, they're able to connect us to positive role models, be it our uncles. And I was fortunate to have big brothers who then also were very good in being such good role models. Like my big brother sort of assumed the father figure, and he then became that even up until now. But I think they are people who really would also help, reach out, and be, don't be afraid to also be smooth, to be gentle, because I think the world always wants us to be very, like, rough on the edges. We don't have to, reach out to those uncles, people at church, if you go to church, or, in whatever social settings you find yourself, and always have to not be shamed with what we see on the social media about who men are, but really that our mothers, they know we were a dream for them that came true. Literally, they dreamed about us. They wanted to make babies and make us, and they did. So that has never lost them, right? They still have that vision of what they want for us. So ask your mom, what are your hopes for me? So that at least if you have anything to remember to ground you, it is also what your mom wishes for, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents, whoever is in your life and is really invested.
Yeah.
Again, as I say this, and I know that it's not easy, but we always have to always try. Like I said, I was like very pained with my dad, so it took me time to heal from that. Um, so that I don't live this life angry with what I thought maybe he took away from me. So yeah, I think that could be a message that I have for for boys who grow up without fathers,
Yeah.
but also be very strong to their mothers, to sort of like have a healthy balance around also knowing who you should be as just a human, a good human in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. True. Okay, finish this sentence. No matter how old I get, my mother will always.
Ah, my mother will always be a memory that I cherish. All that.
Okay. Okay. Let's twist this. No matter how old I get. Why are you nervous?
I'm nervous because I'm just like, I know there's like a catch to it, and I don't know if I want to fall for it, but I want to be like very careful to whoever who's listening to be
Okay,
like,
okay.
dude, yes, but I'll try
No
it
matter
again.
how old, no matter how old I get, my mother will always say to me,
Yes. She'll always say that she'll always be my little boy.
absolutely, and you are.
Yes. That's one thing that I always fight her every day. I'm like, Mom, I'm 40. She's like, no, you can be 40, but you're still my child, right? You're my child, you're my person. So I try to like, but Mom is like, so what? You're
Yeah,
40, I'm 50 something. I'm like, okay, fine, okay, all right.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think
That's
I'll
mom.
always be, yeah,
That's mom. Okay, what
yeah.
do you want to say to your mom and your other mothers, but to your mom specifically, your mom?
My
What do you want
mom,
to say?
this was, I told you this even before, we started this conversation when we were talking on the phone, that this is for my mom. Mom, this is for you. I was talking to you, so I hope when you listen, you smile. Yeah, I do.
Well,
Yeah. I think this is the only first platform that I had that I only have to talk about my mom. So thank you so much for giving me time to really center my mom. I've made reference to her about the work that I do, but I think this is the time that I've spent an hour just talking about her. And
yeah.
mom, this was for you.
What's her totem? Does she have
Shumba.
Shumba?
She's a lion.
My
Yeah.
Kabasa Shumba.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much.
much, Tatenda, for agreeing to do this, to share about your
Yeah,
amazing
this was
mother.
great, by the way, because I actually have a keynote. I'm actually going to an event where I have a keynote at 5:30. So I think this was a good exercise to like shake the nerves and to also like be
Shake
in
the
this
nerve.
like, so yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much,
All right, have a good night. I feel
and
it's
have
so
a good
late
night.
there. So yeah,
Yeah, it is late, and to everyone listening, good night. If you haven't subscribed, just subscribe and follow Tatenda. I think he's on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll put a link on where to buy the book, right? There is a
yes,
link to buying the book.
there
No
is,
worries.
yeah,
You can still get it from anywhere in the world, I believe. You'll have to make sure everyone gets it when they buy it.
yes.
So thank you so much and 再见.
再见.
Bye.
Bye.